Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats, a part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name's Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by the one and only Mr. Johnny Larkin. How are you, Johnny?
Pretty good. How are you?
I am good. Pumped to get into tonight's episode. As you were just saying before we hit the record button, how have we reached round 24? Where did that time go?
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy that we're at the end of the regular season, as they like to say, and about to embark on the finals. Like that's insane. And what a season. What a season it's been for the Cats. Bit of a roller coaster. They had a really good high at the start. They came back down to earth for a couple of rounds there, and then climbed back up. And it's been sort of up and down since our sort of form slump. But it's still been a pretty bloody successful season. Possibility of finishing second on the ladder if results go away. Or we could also drop off a bit, drop from the top four down to like fifth or sixth. So still a lot to play. I know I said to you, I was just going through the fixture. There's only 3 games that will have no impact on the ladder. So on a whole, it's been a pretty exciting season, pretty remarkable season, and yeah, I'm looking forward to a pretty intense final series. I still don't know who's going to win the grand final. Geelong, obviously, the top team to win it. But as I said to everyone, it's like anyone inside that top 8 could really realistically win it. Unfortunately, the bloody scum are in there. Maybe not Carlton the way their season has ended with all their injuries and the form they're in at the moment. They're a bit of the team that feels like they've limped to the finish line, battered and bruised, and a few black eyes, broken arm, a few toes missing off their foot. So I think it's going to be a tough final season for the Blues. But
Johnny, there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal, than a wounded blue. True. That's what they'll be going in feeling. Crazy up and down season. Roller coaster is the way you talk about it, because it's been real peaks and troughs. Teams have been high up, and then they've been down, low. And pretty much every team in it. I think GWS is the only team that hasn't got an absolute, that hasn't copped an absolute belting at some point. So it is going to be hopefully a good final series.
It's insane to think that
you never know.
Port Adelaide's coach was getting booed at one point in the season. Like that's crazy.
Mate, yeah, you can go through pretty much every team in the 8 and say, isn't it crazy to think back when they were this? Isn't it crazy to think we thought that they were done or whatever? But it all comes down to this for the Cats on the show tonight. The Cats v the Eagles, round 24 preview. Obviously, Johnny, there's a lot to talk about in terms of some significant retirement announcements. We had one a few weeks ago with Tom Hawkins. There's obviously another one overnight with Zach Toohey saying he will be calling it quits at the end of the 2024 campaign. We're going to talk about a bit of that on the Patreon part of the show tonight. We're also going to talk about the 22 under 22 team selections of Max Holmes and Ollie Dempsey. Also might give some thoughts on the third man who missed out, Tanner Bruin. So we'll do a bit of that sort of chatter on the extended show. If you want to get access to that, go on over to the Hoops Crew Patreon. Take out a 7-day free trial. You can come and see what it's all about. Extended versions of our podcast, Wednesday news wraps with Ben and sometimes myself as well, scratching post stuff with Paul, as well as all sorts of other things like VFL men's and women's coverage. So you can get a look at that. But Johnny, before we get into any of that, before we sort of reflect on the great careers, of premiership legends, I think it's good to focus on the here and now. And that is that, as I said in a tweet tonight, there will be endings and there'll also be some new beginnings. And in between, Geelong has this chance to do something in the finals yet again, just, 2 seasons removed from when they last won their flag. And I know there'll be some skeptics out there as to whether Geelong's, not so much their best footy stacks up, but, can they find their best footy consistently enough over a month-long finals campaign? Well, we'll soon find out, but that should be the focus, really. And that's what we're going to talk about here as the Cats go on a mission at Kardinia Park to lock up a double chance. Larko, how are you feeling going into this game against the Eagles? We saw last week against the Saints as being a potential banana peel game. It turned out to be so, as the Cats couldn't bank the 4 points. Where's the vibe check for Johnny Larkin going into the game against the Eagles?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I think the Eagles going in, going, great, we've got one of their legends retiring, and the Cats just, Zach Tui goes, I think I'm going to retire at the end of season 2, have a farewell game at GMHBA. So the Eagles will be like, oh, come on. Not another reason why they're going to play the best footy to send off Tommy Hawkins, who so unfortunately wasn't able to get up to play one last time at GMHBA, but I guess that's the way it happens sometimes, injuries and all that. But it's going to be excellent to see Zach Tui being able to go out one last time in front of the home crowd and, deliver another epic torpedo sometime throughout this game, maybe once every quarter. That'd be great. But I think feeling pretty confident, obviously, as we always do every single week. Got a couple of really important reasons why we need to win this game, and one to, as you said, lock up top 4, potentially top 2, top 3, if other results fall our way and we have a big enough win over West Coast. It's going to be a big ask, but we've still got that big chance to lock in top 4, and then you only need to win 2 games to get into the grand final. So it's not. It's a pretty big reason to win, and I think they can do it. I think it's going to be a pretty hostile event at GMHBA. The fans hopefully will get behind Tui and Hawkins and the Cats and really, really just get loud and ruckus and absolute crazy and frothing at the bit for a big Cats win, as I said, to send off these 2 guys. So I think myself, you, and Sambo, if he's able to join us, will be waiting, because it's on at a not ideal time for us, as we work during the day on weekends, most weekends. Or I know you don't at the moment, but Sam does. I think Sam is. So we're going to avoid the scores and watch it together. And I think we'll all be pretty loud and ruckus when we watch it and get in behind the boys. But as I said, I'm pretty confident the team is obviously good enough to go all the way and win the big games. And I don't think they can treat it any other way but a big game. Just because it's against West Coast doesn't mean it's not a pretty big game. It's got a lot of meaning behind it. There's a lot of emotion in it. And I think that's what the Cats have got to draw on, is that emotion, the moment and the legacy that Hawkins and Tui is going to leave at this club.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with all of that. As you said, you got to treat it as a big game because it's significant. If you win, you get top 4, or you get a done. Everyone, the common joke with footy fans and a lot of Geelong fans is, another straight sets exit. Who cares? Like my feeling on this is that we get to bank another top 4 finish. Like, yeah, great.
Yeah.
We could go out in straight sets. We might not too. Like, I don't know why everything's got to be so nihilistic all the time for people. But anyway, you gotta approach it how you got to approach it. I personally, I'm gunning for the Cats to lock up another top 4 berth. The Eagles have defeated us just once in the last 5 outings. That was back in 2020. They beat us 73-64 at Optus Stadium in round 9 of 2020. We've had the better of them since. Beat them 136-39 at Kardinia Park in 2021. In 2022, we beat them 81-63 in a close-ish game at Optus Stadium. beat them pretty handily the second time around down at Kardinia Park, 131-46. And then 2023 beat them over in gather round at Adelaide Oval, 136-89. I was just looking at the Eagles team selection, Johnny, and I won't go into it too much other than to say the headline on their website is Team Selection, Future on Show against Cats. Opportunity knocks for a host of West Coast youngsters against Geelong. So they are giving a look to some young players, and that can go one of two ways. Either they are overawed early, the Cats start hot, shut them out of the game, and it's all over by halftime. The other thing is they have nothing to lose. They have no developed fear of going to Kardinia Park, and so they don't stress too much about it, and they're up for the challenge. But it's crazy to think that a team that's lost as much as West Coast can line up on the weekend with Tim Kelly and Harley Reid both on ball. Like you would think that, with that sort of talent at the stoppage, that they would be putting together, some wins. But it just shows it does take a whole team. Let's talk about Geelong's team selection, Johnny. We'll do that now once I can bring up the old graphic. Here it is. The Cats, they make a trio of changes, do Geelong. It is omissions, all three. Now, the Cats are normally pretty specific with their language around this stuff, Johnny.
Usually.
And they would normally say, managed or rested or whatever it might be. It's all just omission. Gary Rowan, O'Shane Mullen, and Mitch Nevitt all omitted. And incoming are Tanner Bruin, Zach Toohey, and Jed Buse. What do you think there, Johnny? I think we chatted off air that O'Shane Mullen and Mitch Nevitt, pretty obvious ones to make way. You can expand on that if you wish, but what are your thoughts on Gary Rowan being omitted? And do you think there's any potential that this is his last game at Kardinia Park? Would have been?
It's an interesting choice to omit Gary Rowan, seeing how they also subbed him out. So I reckon there's a sneaky little niggle Rowan's carrying that the Cats don't want to mention. And they're just gone, we're going to rest you up before the finals. Obviously, said there's the pre-finals bye, so he's got the extra week. So maybe he's just got a bit of a slight injury going his way that they want to clear up. Because I thought that was an interesting decision to omit Rowan. He didn't seem he seemed one of the better players against the Saints before they subbed him out. So maybe there's something behind the scenes we're not seeing. But the other two, Mullen and Nevitt, I thought Mullen was probably the better player out of the two of them. But they're still yet to put that mark on a position or really have that moment where you go, yes, they belong at AFL level. They both still look a bit raw, a bit unsure of what their position is or what they're meant to do in the team. So it's still plenty of time for them to work out that. They're still very early in their careers, and as we said, still looks like he needs a bit of bulk on him. A bit of mass, get the strength up a bit, get his confidence up a bit, and he'll be good. He's looking like a good prospect. Both of them are. They're both definitely not ready for the rigors of AFL football just yet. But it's really good to see Tanner Bruin back in after his concussion. Great to see him. I think we missed him against St Kilda. Just that extra midfielder that can get in, do the hard yards. And also good to see Jed Buse back. I think he's been pretty serviceable two times he's been in this year. So I think it's wise decisions. And also, you're not going to omit Zach Toohey, his last game at GMHBO. So I think the Cats have made the right calls so far. I'm still pretty sure a lot of Cats fans will be yelling, "Where's Mitch Hardy?" But I think if they're asking that, they should go watch your video that you did on Mitch Hardy, Zach Toohey earlier in the week. I'm pretty sure that's on YouTube. It's not a
It is on
Patreon
YouTube.
exclusive. go watch that. Go see what Jake says. Hear what Jake has to say about that subject. He's the expert in the chaps around those players. But yeah, maybe he is our secret weapon, as I said earlier in our recap pod. Maybe they're going to bring him for the finals, and he's a ready-made finals player that's going to impact and bring us premiership glory.
Yeah, it's interesting. I started the morning typing up footy notes with breakfast. I just had this thought after I recorded that video about Mitch Hardy and why he has or hasn't been selected and all that sort of stuff. And it occurred to me that to have a look at other players that have been playing well in the VFL who aren't on an AFL list, and I think that Jean-Luc Valasaris at Northern Bullants, he's averaging like 32 touches a game. I think it's 5-ish marks, nearly 4 tackles per game. Like, he's been ripping it up. Dominic Brew at Werribee has been, serving it up. There's another couple of guys who are not AFL listed. They're playing for VFL standalone clubs who are having great seasons, and they don't even have the opportunity to start. And so I guess my point there being is lots of different types of players can carve it up at VFL level, can carve up a state league. That doesn't necessarily dictate that you're ready for AFL footy. And I think, there's been some stuff, people are going, Mitch Hardy should leave and go to another club, to give him an opportunity, give him a chance. I look back to the mid-season draft last year and I say, well, Geelong was the only team of the 18 who gave Mitch Hardy the chance. Geelong are that club that looked at him and said, we'll give you a shot. So I don't know. I just don't buy all this sort of stuff. Again, the nihilism or fatalism, whatever you want to call it, that he hasn't played yet. And so he's going to be delisted. And that's that. The thing is, I think he would be very, very clear. And I've said this all year about why he's not being picked. And therefore, I don't think he can sort of be too. I imagine you wouldn't be that bitter about it if it's communicated to you, presumably. And we've interviewed some AFLW players I know who have said that it's always very clear, the pathway of what you have to do in order to get to the side. And if you don't meet it, you understand why you haven't been picked. So we might not like it or understand it as fans. We look at how he plays on the weekend. We look at his numbers, etc. But we don't see him go head to head at training with Atkins, with Bruin, with Bowes, Stewart, Blixarves, Nevitt, Clark, etc. The guys who have been given goes ahead of him. So we're really drawing our knowledge base from a limited sample size. But I would say I'd like to see him extended to 2025. I would love to see him for another year. And this is speaking about. Go, John.
Couple other little milestones on this weekend. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I wasn't until I just saw some news. Zachary Guthrie is playing his 100th game this weekend for the Cats, and Reece Stanley's pulling on the hoops for his 150th game. So a couple of little milestones, which is good for them. Just thought I'll bring it up.
Good. Yeah, 100%. Congratulations to them. Guthrie. I know Ben.
Obviously,
Ben's on the. Yeah, exactly. The big re-signings to Zach Guthrie. I know Ben on the Hoops is always across the milestone posts on the Hoops Crew Twitter account. There is one late in, though, Johnny, for the team, for our team, because Sambo joins us.
A late change.
Midway through the. Yeah, that's right. Late change. Welcome to the pod, Sambo.
Thank you. I just realized I hadn't spoken for a while, so I didn't know if my voice was even going to come out then. I do apologize. I have a bit of a husky voice still.
He's
like a husky
this is
voice.
where we need to start the OnlyFans, John. We need to start the Chaps OnlyFans. I think prime moment to do it. Let's do we want to get a quick word? Let's do it. Let's stay on team selection for like another 60 seconds. Sambo, your boy, Gary Rowan, your man rather, Gary Rowan, omitted. Is this the last time we could have seen him at Cardinia Park? Is he back in 2025? What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we'll see him down there with the AFLW. So it's not the only time we'll see him at the in the limelight at the ground. But I mean, it could be like you never know. But judging by how he's sort of been managed and sort of rested here and there this year, I would say he wouldn't be long in the hoops as a player. But stranger things have happened. I've called many a retirement that has not come about over the years. So I'll hold a glimmer of hope that, especially if he's omitted, um, that they maybe know something that we don't.
I reckon. Well, that was Johnny's theory. I don't know how long you were sitting in the waiting room there, but Johnny's theory is that it's to do with injury. That's Johnny's conspiracy theory. That
Mm.
because he was subbed out as well, and we all thought, oh, strange player to sub out when you need that maybe that last quarter big impact, and then not picked this week. Yeah, could be some interesting stuff going on, I guess.
Yeah, I mean they specifically said in the presser that it wasn't injury, but that doesn't mean it wasn't injury,
Yeah.
as we
Well,
all
they
know.
also said Sam De Koning would have been fit to play out the second half of the game against the Crows or whatever it was, the rest of the game, and now he's missed
And then he's
the last
missed.
2 games.
Separate issue.
Let's
separate issue.
talk about what we want to see. Sambo, you right to come in hot and lead us off here with what you want to see this weekend from the Cats or a player or something else.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of things I want to see. I'll try and cast my mind back over what I said the last couple of weeks to not repeat myself. So, I think what I would actually like to see after all this talk of, it's Patrick Dangerfield's world and the rest of the team's just living in it, all this kind of stuff. I'd love to see a big game from some of the, I guess what you'd call them, the peripheral players. So it's not necessarily one thing; it's a conglomeration of things. But I'd love to see like Bose, those kinds of guys. Even Ollie Dempsey, he's not like fringe, but some of those other players that just, I don't know. I think it's really tough that when we win, everyone says it's because of Dangerfield, and when we lose, it's because Dangerfield and Stewart didn't have enough impact. And I think we've got
Yep.
so many talented players on that list. So those sort of even up forward, like I'd love to see Stengel have a big day. I'd love to see a big outing from kind of all of the second and third string players of each area, if that makes sense.
I love it. Johnny, have you got one there that springs to mind?
Yes.
If not, I can throw one in. Yep, go for it then.
Oh, I want to see no one get 30 disposals, obviously, because then that means there's a big chance we'll lose.
Yeah, no one clear 30, thanks.
I'm just gonna double down on one of you mentioned last week, Jake. I've mentioned it a few times, and that is Shannon Neal. I just want to see him grab a game by the scruff of the neck, kick a bag, and impose himself. It feels like every week, it feels like he's about to break out, but he just hasn't yet. So I think if one of you guys don't bring it up, I'm just going to bring it up until he does, because it's what I want to see. I want to see him break out of his shell and tear a game apart with his own bare hands. He's strong enough, big enough. He's just got to get that. He's just got to get that confidence boost, or whatever it is he needs. Like just that little extra 10-15% out of him, and I think he can really tear a game apart. And that's what I want to see this weekend. It's a big game, as I mentioned. A lot of emotion behind this game. A lot of moments there could be lots of big moments. So I'd like to see Shannon Neal grab his big moment.
I love it. One thing I want to see this weekend, and that is, firstly, I want to see everyone within the sound of my voice going on over to Twitter, to Instagram, wherever you are, and go on over to the handle Your Girl Party B. Now, Your Girl Party B follows us on Twitter, is a massive Cats fan, a musician, And as I said, go over at Your Girl Party B has a remix coming out Friday, 23rd of August of the Catters theme song. It's called Up the Catters. And you should go and check it out. Make sure you head on over to her profile on Twitter. The link to pre-save the track is pinned at the top of her profile. So that's what I want to see. Go and do it. Support Cats fans doing Cats fans things. We're an awesome and eclectic bunch, we Cats fans. So yeah, I hope it's a massive release. Hope everyone loves the track. So just wanted to do that one. I've got an on-field one as well. The on-field one has to do with Brad Close and Tom Atkins. They were both well down last week on their usual output, pressure-wise, both total tackles, pressure acts, all that sort of thing. I want to see, I mean, it's a whole team note in terms of that swarming pressure from Geelong team-wide. But I feel like Atkins and Close are two of those players that are sort of a bit of an indicator for how the Cats are going in that department. It was highly uncharacteristic for both of those players. I think off the top of my head, I feel like Atkins had maybe like 10 pressure acts or 12 pressure acts, and Brad Close was in the same sort of neighborhood. And likewise, the tackle count was really low. So I would love to see big games out of them, get that confidence back to sort of hunt in packs and apply pressure up the ground. I think that goes a long way towards Geelong winning this game, locking up the top four, and putting them in position to play the kind of footy that might have them go deeper in finals.
Nice.
All right.
Love it.
That is it for the public part of the show. We are going to duck now over to Patreon. Remember, if you want to join us for the extended part of the show, go on over and start a 7-day free trial on the Hoops Crew Patreon. Extended versions of our show, the Wednesday news wrap with Ben and sometimes myself when the day job allows. You get scratching post episodes from Paul, VFL men's and women's coverage from me, as well as extra little bits and pieces as they are inspired from us. That's all from us on the public part, though. We're going to play you out, as we love to do on the show, with our favorite four-legged friend, the halftime horse. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, go Cats!
Go Cats.
Go Cats! You get your cordial, you get your lollies, a spray from the coach. Lollies, absolutely.
Spray.
So you get your cordial, you get your lollies, a spray from the coach. Lollies, absolutely.
Spray. That's what halftime's about.